So it's a new day here at Mowers Gone Wild. It's Travis. I'm standing in front of Predator, and we're finally, hopefully soon, going to have that new front end I've been wanting. So yesterday, Matt stopped after work and he found some scrap steel for me. Well, more or less new, but it was in their scrap bin, so it was a little cheaper still, almost $50 for the piece of steel that I. And that's going to make me a custom a little bit wider where I can have my new spindles that will actually mount to the 4-bolt pattern, so that way we don't have to have them rims in there, and it'll be the exact length I needed to be able to keep the wheels distant, to have the hood on, steering work, just everything be the way I want it to be, and should be more than heavy enough to just not have any issues. So the only issue I should have then is if maybe I bend another spindle or something, but I don't want to have to keep changing front axles. I need a good one that's just going to support everything. So I'm going to start disassembling this. I'm going to take the motor and everything back off again, so that way more or less when Ed has some free time, hopefully later this week, I can roll this thing over there and me and him will start torching some things off of this, and then hopefully start getting some things bolted back on. So I would love to say by maybe even next week this thing will be under its own power again, steering, running, and just being flawless. So because even with how bad the steering is and I can move these rims back and forth and everything, it actually still tracks pretty well. It has been eating up the mud, but I've been too scared to even begin to try to hit a trail with it. I just hit the track with it a few times. Right now it's so bad, it just can't even run. It just needs to be pulled apart and actually fixed properly. So I will go ahead and start getting everything disassembled. So I got the motor off. Motor's sitting there, got the clutch over there, everything's all taken apart. And I learned something really scary. So it's a good thing I stopped driving yesterday. I've noticed the steering was getting a little funky, but I thought it was the wheels. I mean, in the video you can see the one wheel go back and forth. Well, as I discovered, I only have one bolt holding this in right now. So that's a little scary. So I will get everything tightened back up. Might need some thread lock, might do some through-on-through bolts. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I have a feeling it's just been a lot of the off balance that's been causing so much more vibration, causing things to move. So I've never had that issue before with this. But she's getting stripped down. Like I said, hopefully we'll get all this removed here in the next few days. Try to take some videos during the process. I know when you guys see this, a lot of this is going to be mashed together, but for once I'm just trying to be really good at taking videos through and through of the progress. So yeah, that's the Go Power Sports Predator 670 brace, as I've said before. This thing has steel going pretty much down the entire thing on both sides of this now. It's cross-braced all underneath here to help support this cast iron front end. So I have not tweaked this frame in a very long time. Just unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about the spindles. So we'll see what ends up happening. When I get it all rebuilt, we'll do a new tie rod. Like I said, the new spindles will mount right up to the actual rims with the 4-bolt pattern. They will hopefully have my brakes and everything back on and working as well. Steering hopefully be back up just like it's supposed to be. And we'll be back and run in order to just rip, trail, and have some fun. Alright, I got a lot of different projects going on right now between Tater Tot 2, doing the transaxle. I'm still going to be getting a motor on Tater Tot 2, and then getting Predator fixed. Right now, Predator's taking the priority. I got some bribery right there for Ed, who's going to help me take the old front end off. We're going to get the new steel on for the new front axle, all custom with the new spindles, get them old rims off, and go to just using the black 4-lug ones. And there's some bribery beer for him to help me. He's on his way over to tow me over since I don't have a motor on it no more. I gotta just air up the tires, get everything over, and I'm gonna try to get some photos and video of while we are more or less getting things torched off the front end, and hopefully getting some new stuff welded on and full custom front end on this thing. So I'm excited. I'm just ready to get this thing back up and going. So hopefully this weekend I might be able to rip through the mud. Exciting news! Predator's front end is getting done today. Ed is towing me over. These wheels are getting fixed, getting the new spindles on, and a whole new custom front end. So, here we go.
All right, so we got it in Ed's garage. He's helping me today get the front end rebuilt that I've been talking about. We already got the wheels off. One side was very sloppy, the other wasn't so bad. This one wasn't bent too bad, this one was horrible. It started getting rounded. It needs a lot of help. So all that's coming off. We got solid steel that's going to be going in there, thick walled, 3/16. With that, we got the new spin. Yep, there's the steel we're going to be using. Then we have the new spindles. They're actually going to be the full 4-bolt pattern that are going to match up to the rims that I originally bought for this. And then we are going to be going back to disc brakes. As long as I don't bend the spindles, the brakes will actually work. So here's the hope that we can build this to where we actually don't bend anything for once. But it's me after all, and who knows. But we're ready to get it done so I can get it back ripping through the mud. While it's all off, I'll go through and actually hit some of this with paint. That way it doesn't rust. It's going to need some paint touch-ups here and there too, but I'm just excited to be able to get it back up and going for the beginning of spring. So got Ed to thank for this. So Ed has helped out a million times over today. We got almost everything mocked up and welded in place. Spindles are spinning nice and good. We got them straight as can be for what we're working with. So we got the tie rod done. We extended the front end roughly probably about 8 to 10 inches. So it's going to be lined right up now with the back wheels. With that, right now we're just going to be working on the steering. We're still going to use the lawnmower steering. We're going to just have to modify it a little bit, and we're going to make a brace off of this for that to connect to, so this will move back and forth, and we'll be close to being able to start bolting everything back up and back in place. All right, so it's almost there. So we got the tie rod all done. We have the steering that's going to go right there. This is going to be just about perfect. We're just going to weld these together, so that will give everything there. Center steering, and should be able to start getting the hubs on. We'll put the calipers on, and this thing's going to be pretty close to being able to roll out of here. So I'd say in the next day or two, motor will be back on, and she should be back under her own power, all with the new steering and front end, thanks to Ed. And we'll be able to get the hood mounted just like it's supposed to be mounted. So this is pretty exciting. All right, so we got her all wrapped up. We got the brakes mounted. The handle still needs to get mounted. I'll get the motor and everything on it to reroute all that. Tires are on. The thing steers. Wheels are on. She looks good. Ed did an amazing job helping fabricate it all. So we'll be getting the motor put back on here really shortly, probably tomorrow or the next day, and we'll get it ripping. All right, so we got Predator all back together. Ed and Matt helped tremendously get this thing back in shape. Ed was the one that did the whole front end for me. I just kind of helped grind a little bit here and there and was there just to make sure it got more or less the vision, but he figured out all the fabrication. I already took some of the videos that you've already seen. Well, that's the completed with the brakes all mounted. We made a tab right here. So everything's on there. We got the tie rod on there. Steering's all back together. Clutch is back on. Torque converter, Series 40. 40 chain all back on. I had to actually add a couple links. I moved them more forward a little bit because now it actually turns more than it ever has. So with the way I have this plate notched for the steering, it was actually hitting. I should have actually taken a video earlier with the motor off, but I redid the entire steering and did through bolts, and then I added a center bolt on so that way you can't oversteer. You can kind of, yeah, you can see it right there, dead in the center, so that way the steering can't come off. So just added a couple little things. Steering's very, very tight now, so you just move it a little bit and it moves. So brakes are working. I got the electrical all back together. That was a real headache. I should have labeled things for someone that actually made a video on how to wire a 670. It's a little ironic that I didn't take care of my wires a little better on the long end when I extended them all. So, but she's about ready to be fired back up and going. I got the hood right there. I'm going to get it mounted, going to get my splash guard on. It is actually very nasty out today. It's a snow-rain mix, but we're going to get her out and get going. Alright, so after a shakedown yesterday, something was coming loose. The belt definitely got a little hot. That was just due to excessive water, and also the chain was giving me some real issues. It was actually binding, and I didn't quite know why. And when we got it back up here, I realized I bent my smaller bolts, which obviously I should have used bigger to begin with, so that's what I did. I upgraded, got a lot bigger bolts in there now, made sure this is completely lined up on both sides, measured from there to the center point on both, since that's probably one of the most square areas on the tractor itself. Got everything lined back up. Took the slop that I had out in here, made sure this was nice and flush now, put this in there as a gapper so when this pushes, everything just is nice and tight now, so none of this moves. Both sides. Got the chain better. I'm at the point that I almost want to just stretch a little bit more so I can just take a whole link out. I got my tensioner to the max and it's runnable as of right now. But yeah, it just needs a little bit more tweaking. The brakes were giving me issues because the way I had it mounted. So I made up a new mount, haven't painted it or anything. But now it's actually mounted more correct. It's a little more not fun for me to pull over, but it's doable. I like pushing down better, but the reservoir being sideways, I didn't even really give thought of it. It's not getting the pressure that it should. So now when it's this way, it actually does stop the wheels. So should be a lot better to actually run, be able to actually slow down now with the front brakes. Eventually, I want to get my drums back working. I'm just trying to work out all the bugs as of right now the way it is. The thing ran amazing yesterday for even giving me the chain issues. It actually just kept going, never got me stuck. We rode for about a half an hour, even in all this water, mud, everything else, and she rode through everything, went over some logs, and drove back under her own power, even being hurt. So I'm ready to get everything bolted back up, just kind of go through, make sure everything's tight as it can be, and probably go for another rip, and we'll take some videos along the way, so stay tuned. All right, the hood is back on. She's ready to roll. Let's back this out a little bit. There we go. That is the new look with the new front end. She lines almost exactly up with them back tires. She looks mean as ever. Don't mind all the caulk. That tire wouldn't beat up, so we put a bunch of caulk on it. Now it's holding there. So she's about perfect. The brakes are actually working. Ignition, kill switch, everything seems to be working. Headlights are now working. I got 2 working headlights finally. So things aren't always going to be 100% square on this thing. This thing's been beat the hell by me, but you know what? She's running awesome. Well, hopefully still running awesome. We'll see how she's going to steer with the new hubs, new brakes, new everything. So let's go give her a shakedown.